I said something last week where when I was editing the podcast, I noticed I said, oh, sometimes it's okay to be negative. I kind of take that back, where I don't necessarily think you can't like have emotions. I think it's okay to like, let things out sometimes, but I don't think you should be comfortable in negativity.
That's actually really nice to hear. So are we gonna hear like some positive?
No.
I was about to say in this episode that we're about to record, are we about to hear some positive thoughts and just
no
feelings?
Is anything positive about like is anything positive about misogyny? Is anything positive about racism?
No.
Is anything positive about oppression, Louis?
No.
So
it's about to get serious.
It's about to get serious.
So don't mind us, but we're about to talk about another Chicago artist. Welcome to Chicago, the podcast. Not the... Let's show you your face. What? Is it too many Chicago artists we're talking about?
Nah.
It's just 2 in a row.
I don't think you could ever have too many Chicago artists.
Yeah, you're right.
Chicagoans.
Right. Especially if they're putting out good music that we want to talk about and discuss.
Exactly.
Then, of course, we're just going to talk about Noname.
Right.
In this episode of Don't Mind Us.
For sure.
So, before we get to Noname, it's been a while since we recorded with LaShayla. We skipped a week.
We did skip a week.
We skipped a week, and we cannot keep doing that. I will take the blame on this one, that why we haven't recorded. I was not ready for this episode of the podcast at the time, but I'm ready now.
You're ready now?
Also, life happens sometimes,
yeah.
and you get a little busy, and stuff like that, but I know we haven't recorded in a while. I'm ready this time. I'm ready right now to talk about Noname, but what have you done since our break, since our hiatus from this podcast?
Had a couple panic attacks, but it's all right.
Yeah, it's cool. Just
chilling. No,
normal week.
I mean, it's been, it's nearing the end of the semester here in college life, and projects due, big important projects, presentations that I'll have to do, so I'm kind of stressed about that.
Yeah, but more important than
school,
furthering your career and getting an education, you got your car fixed. You need to follow up with the people, LaShayla.
I get my car fixed. We
talked about this last episode.
Yeah. How
your car was just in shambles.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's all right.
You got it fixed.
It's all right now.
It's all right now.
I fixed the back. There's still like a dent in the back, but look, I'll take what I can work. I don't, I'll take it. As long as I can get from point A to point B to point C to point D.
Why so many places? Where are you going?
To point E and F. Wait, is that how it goes? Anyway, as long as I can get there.
Is that the alphabet? Yeah.
As long as I can get to those places, I'm good.
LaShayla.
And my car is fine.
I don't know how many.
And as long as I can listen to Noname in my car.
Oh.
Just joking. That wasn't a transition. I'm not done yet.
You're not done talking about you go to so many places. Point A to E. Mm-hmm. I mean, where are you going? What's going on?
I'm going in your life? To my house. Inside my house. To my bed, to my kitchen, to my bed.
You need to
my shower,
to, all those places?
to my
I'm
bed.
I'm so confused right. I go nowhere. Actually, I go nowhere. My rapper name would be Nowhere.
No.
Oh, that was a dad joke.
Whoa.
That was bad. I'm sorry.
No.
You can actually just take it from here.
Honestly, I don't go anywhere either. Yeah. I go from school to home to school. Once the break comes, it's like home to home. Home with my dog chilling.
You have a
dog. I have a dog.
Yeah. You don't tell the listener. Listeners love dogs. People in general love dogs.
Yeah, I really.
You gotta tell the people about your dog.
I love dogs. Okay, so my dog, his name is Remington Alexander III.
Such a fancy name. Such
the third is
regal.
Fake, but we like to say it because it sounds good. But his name's actually Remington Alexander. He's 5.5 pounds. And I mean, yeah, he's cool. He's a Yorkie poo, so he's a miniature poodle mixed with a Yorkie. I prefer larger dogs, but I'll take what I can get.
That's where we differ.
You prefer smaller dogs?
Yeah.
Oh my, he barks all the time. You can have him.
Okay, sure. I think we just did a thing.
No, but he's very he likes people, so he likes to cuddle a lot. Okay.
Yeah, I think people.
And I
sometimes like me, so maybe the dog can like me too. Did we just do this?
Wait.
I'll just have your dog.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll just take your dog.
He'll like bark all the time, and he'll just bark all the time, but it's fine. And he's actually old. He's like 6. He's gonna be 7 the day after Christmas, actually.
Oh.
He's a Christmas puppy.
Well, a Christmas puppy. I will say that I've done nothing, really.
Yeah, what have you done?
Except work.
What have you done the week that you told me to stop? You said, look,
I didn't tell you to
we
stop.
are not recording a podcast. You're like, I'm like mid, typing my notes. I'm like, oh, we're going to do our podcast, right?
You had some notes going. You had 2 pages of notes.
And you're like, oh, we're not doing this podcast this week.
I didn't sound like that, okay, to be fair.
You're right.
I just said, I'm not ready.
Mm-hmm.
I need to listen to this more.
Mm-hmm.
I need to research more.
I respect
I
that.
want to give the respect No Name deserves, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm here to do that now. Because I've listened.
Mm-hmm.
I've researched.
Mm-hmm.
I've written my notes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready.
All right.
To talk about No Name.
All right.
But
what have you been up to?
Nothing. I'm telling you, working non-stop. Also,
working out?
I will say also working out. Also, my guilty pleasure, and this might be the whitest part of me.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Project Runway.
Oh.
Yes.
You sure it's the whitest part?
No, yeah, you might be right. It might be the metro part of me. But
yeah. Oh, woke king, I stand. Sorry, I just threw a lot of words you probably don't know.
No, it might be more metro. But Project Runway is a guilty pleasure of mine. I love that show. I love critiquing the looks, even though I cannot sew a dress. I cannot create a look. I'm not creative when it comes to that.
You need to get into RuPaul's Drag Race then.
I don't know. But I did watch a whole season of Project Runway, so do that with what you will instead of researching for No Name. And I'm sorry, I apologize. In my free time, I'll watch Project Runway season 16. I'm on season 15 right now.
That's a lot of seasons.
Don't ask me why I'm going backwards, because I have no idea why.
So that's what other shows are you like into?
It's right now. You see my hoodie?
Yeah.
Done in the office.
I mean, it's typical of your kind.
Yeah, that actually might be the whitest part about me. Is my like.
I mean, The Office is kind of funny, so like.
Yeah, The Office is funny. Come on,
it's funny. Okay,
it should be universally recognized as funny.
I watch it and then I'm like, giggle, like
I giggle.
It's like I respect the jokes and I understand them, but I'm just not like crying anyway.
Okay, so The Office. I mean, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Fun fact: Paige, my girlfriend of 4.5 years.
Go off.
No, not before we started dating, but the beginning stages when we were dating. Her first gift to me was the entire DVD set of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh wow!
It's like she knew me.
That's love.
That's love. I just knew her right there.
That's pure heterosexual love. That's what we need in
DVD sets.
That's what we need.
DVD box sets of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Heterosexual.
Disclaimer, I can say that because I am not heterosexual.
Yeah, there you go. See, give the people a disclaimer.
Yeah, I don't want people to think two straight people just like
ragging.
Promoting, like heterosexuality. That ain't it.
That ain't it. But The Office, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Project Runway, which I haven't seen in a while. I just recently picked it back up because I remember how much I liked it, and I wanted to judge some looks. Yeah, I'm a little judgmental, I guess, when it comes to TV shows, but
I think that's great.
Yeah, it's interactive, I feel. So Project Runway, all that, The Office, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I'm big into movies more than TV shows.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah,
too.
I'm more into movies than
TV shows.
Which you've recently seen Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah, okay.
We haven't talked about off the podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked that we haven't talked about Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah.
Actually, the person in this room, we have 2 people in this room, Charlie and CJ. CJ, you have not seen Sorry to Bother You. No, he shook his head no. Charlie, you came over and I showed you Sorry to Bother You. And what thoughts on that?
Very
Peculiar. So Charlie thinks it's very weird. What do you think about Sorry to Bother You?
I think it's interesting.
It's unique.
It's it's unique. Like, I feel like I would have to watch it another time to really digest it and to really, be able to, analyze it. Like, I feel like just watching it once, it kind of flew over my head a little bit. It wasn't hard to pick apart. It's just that I feel like I need to watch it again because I think that happens to me a lot with just, art in general. I'll look at it, an album, I'll listen to it, but I won't really take it in. But if I listen to it again, I'll take it in. So I feel like with that movie, I need to watch it again. We have a watch party.
Do you think I've seen it more than once?
Have you?
Yes. I've seen it 3 times now. I've seen the movie 3 times now. And of course I caught some stuff that I didn't.
I'm going to host a watch party at my house.
I think Sorry to Bother You is great. it's obviously weird, especially the third act of the movie. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I think
What's
the
the
third
third act?
the third act of the movie, when the changes started happening.
Oh, like the climax of it? Like,
yeah,
it was I didn't expect it to go in that direction. Like, honestly, when I started the movie, I didn't expect, like, I didn't know what to expect, honestly. Like, I just knew, like, from the previews. But honestly, the previews don't even really show what the movie is about, honestly. Like,
no, yeah, I love
like
that.
they show, like, the idea of what it's about, but it's not really, like, what it's about.
I don't know if I
It's
should
not the
give
plot.
my take on it. I don't know if I should give you my thoughts about this movie.
What are your thoughts?
I think it's weird. I think it's unique. I think it's a great way to talk about social class, to talk about race,
Mm-hmm.
to talk about all these things without it can be on the nose, but it's done in a weird and unique way that I like it. It's creative. It's something that we haven't seen before. It's cool. I really like the movie. It has great style to it as well. The direction of the movie. I know, Charlie, that's kind of what you took away from it was the direction, the directing part of the movie. Wait, let me get confirmation on that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He shook his head, but yeah, the directing and style of it's great, and which makes the social discussions that you'll have, the race discussions have it. It builds it up nicely. I really like the way it's done. I like the way the style and directing frame these conversations that we have to have. That the movie talks about.
So now that you're talking about that, it reminds me of this episode of a podcast we both like called Still Processing.
Yes.
Where they talk about black explaining, and in that particular episode, they talk about different black movies, I guess, and they bring up Sorry to Bother You. And one of the, like, I guess, like, one of the problems that they brought up, maybe it's not a problem necessarily, but one of the things they said was they kind of explained what black explaining is, which was talking about issues as if you're trying to get white people to understand it, as opposed to talking about them as they relate to black people. And in the podcast, they said with Sorry to Bother You, they feel like the movie was kind of meant to white explain, like that, so it wasn't as like cringy as they felt. What was the other movie? The Hate U Give. They felt like The Hate U Give was a lot more like, it was a little bit more cringy because it's like, is this movie for black people? Like, it felt like it wasn't. It felt like it was to black explain, like for white people, like,
So did they ultimately agree that Sorry to Bother You isn't for black people, or is
they kind of agreed that it is what it is? Like, it's not necessarily not for black people, but it's also like the movie itself is just about black explaining. Like, if you like the movie, like that was the point of the movie, as opposed to with The Hate U Give, that wasn't the intent of The Hate U Give, right? Like, it wasn't intended. I think the intent is to have these movies, to be like, oh, this happens to black people, right?
Yeah.
But it felt, I guess to them, it felt more like they did it to explain it to white audiences, as opposed to, I don't know, like, as opposed to for making it for black people. And then with Sorry to Bother You, they felt like its intent wasn't necessarily to, that was kind of the intention of the movie. I don't know if that makes sense. I would probably have to listen to the podcast again.
Yeah.
Or y'all should go and check that podcast out,
Yeah. Still Processing.
It's a great podcast.
Yeah, it is a great podcast. But yeah, I really like Sorry to Bother You. I think it's in my top 10 movies of the year. But I think a better movie that you guys should check out, which I think was explained in that podcast, is Blind Spotting.
I never seen that.
Yeah, I think Blind Spotting is my favorite movie of the year.
I need to see that.
It's on the nose when it comes to issues. It could be, black explaining, white explaining, whatever, but it's done well. The acting's great. The screenplay's great. The screenplay might be the best part of the movie, but it's great. I love that movie.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
So, yeah.
Is this a movie review?
Yeah,
podcast?
we're talking about movies. We're talking about
what we did
stuff,
this weekend.
But, one of the things that could lead up into Noname, which we're going to talk about right now, is the thing about blaxploitation, because she has a song on her debut album.
Yeah, her debut studio album
called Blaxploitation.
For sure.
But before we get into Room 25, before we get into our thoughts and how this ties into what we're going to talk about today, who is Noname?
Who the hell is Noname? Well, I'll tell you, because I got the info. Her name is Fatima Naima Warner. She is a 27-year-old Chicago rapper and poet. So she started off doing like slam poetry, and then she moved into rap. Do you like slam poetry? I'm really into slam poetry.
Yeah.
I've been really into it lately.
Have you seen the videos of Def Jam poetry?
Yeah.
On YouTube?
Kanye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We won't talk about that right now.
Yeah.
Even though it is another Chicago artist that we're talking about. But yeah.
She debuted, her debut mixtape, Telephone, was released July 31st in 2016. Now, this is one reason why I love Noname. So, you know, we have artists that do and say controversial things. Some of them take it back, some of them don't. They kind of double down on it. But Noname is what I like to call a woke queen, right? So her name, she was formerly known as Noname Gypsy, but she dropped the Gypsy off because she wasn't aware that it was like a slur. So in an interview with Fader, she said that she was unaware that the name was offensive, and she chose the name when she was 18, which, you know, makes sense, and was transitioning from a poet to a musician. She was under the impression that gypsies were nomadic people, and I guess she felt that kind of described her as well. She never intended to offend anyone, so she dropped the Gypsy off of her name, which honestly, it kind of, like, Noname itself is kind of perfect, and she explains the reason why that's her rapper name, and honestly it's kind of perfect for her. She said it comes from her not liking labels, like the Noname part. She does not like to label herself. Like, she even doesn't like to wear name brand clothes. She chose the name to say that she can really be anything. Like, people can be like, oh, that's Noname the doctor, that's Noname the rapper, that's Noname the, like, nurse, or Noname the basketball player, you know?
I will say with the Noname, she doesn't wear brand names.
Uh-huh.
Has to be like a big commitment for her brand, right?
Yeah.
You know, not being able to wear, you know, name brand clothes or anything like that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a great message that she's sending out for sure. The name.
She's like, so like another thing about her is like she's very low key and she likes to remain out of the public eye for the most part. So in a 2016 Fader interview, she mentioned some of her influences as Toni Morrison, who, if you don't know who she is, she's a novelist and she's known for her book Beloved and the Song of Solomon. Nina Simone, I mean, if you don't know who Nina Simone is, you should know, but she was a singer, a songwriter, and she was, you know, known for being an activist during the civil rights movement, and also a poet named Patricia Smith. It's interesting because she grew up, I think her mom owned like a bookstore for like 20 years. And so she grew up like surrounded by literature basically. And one thing she did say was that she wasn't really into literature as a kid, but as she got older, she kind of started reading poems and, you know, reading people like Toni Morrison and Patricia Smith. And she really got into like poetry and other literature. She writes at her house for the most part. Sometimes that's like where she records. Like I know for her first album, Telephone, she recorded that at her house, I believe. And she likes to come together, which I think this is really interesting or really important in a way. Not important, but just interesting that she likes to come together with friends like other Chicago artists such as Saba, Cam, Obai, and other like Chicago people, and she likes to collaborate them to create her music. And you see that a lot with her first album, Telephone.
Yeah, they all kind of came up in that scene together, that Chicago scene.
For sure,
for sure. Coming up together. So.
Yeah. So, from that interview, another reason why I love Noname, she was asked, like, what's it like being a black woman in 2016? And her response was, outside of all the violence and the death, take away all of the institutionalized oppression and colorism that exists, it's fun as hell. Black women are taking over. I'm living in a time where Serena Williams is the greatest athlete in the world. Lemonade just came out, and this was in 2016, by the way, y'all. Lemonade just came out, and the shit was fucking fantastic. Ava DuVernay just aired her show, Queen. Yeah, black women are going stupid right now. It's very empowering to see. I feel good. So, I mean, just from that, you can kind of see what type of person she is. She's very, like, I would say, socially conscious and aware. And I don't know. I feel like that's why so many people like her and like her music.
Yeah, I'll say, like, I didn't know her literature love, her background of, you know, liking literature and poets and stuff like that when I was typing my notes. So that explains a lot about what I had to say about her music. So, yeah, great quote from 2016.
Yeah. So would you like to go first and talking about her. You want to talk about her music right now? Or?
Yeah, we'll lay out the music. We'll start with. I mean, I see you have notes about Telephone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the first mixtape release back in July 31st, 2016.
2016.
So why don't you kick us off with some? I see you have some songs here from Telephone that you like, some thoughts.
Yeah.
So why don't you kick us off from Telephone, her first mixtape?
Yeah. So Telephone. Honestly, I've been on Telephone since probably last year, and I've been listening to it. I was introduced by a friend of mine. And she's really into Noname, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll check out this person. And so when I heard Telephone, I don't know, I'm in this stage right now where I'm transitioning from being one of those listeners of music who don't really consider the lyrics to a person who considers the lyrics. And I can say that researching the lyrics for Noname's lyrics has definitely kind of like changed how I think about her. I've always thought she was a great artist, but I never really knew why, if that makes sense. And I definitely think that,
well, it's like you're opening, when you're reading the lyrics from the songs, it's like you're reading a collection of poetry.
Yeah.
Literally. I mean, you talk about rap, hip hop just being poetry, but it's literally like a collection of poems that you're opening up and reading when you're reading her lyrics off. Yeah,
so probably one of the standout songs on that album for me is Diddy Bop, which is featuring actually. Cam Obi and Rory. This song is like, if you listen to it, it's kind of like a recollection of like childhood memories. Like the title of the song itself is called Diddy Bop, which is like 90s, it was popularized by P Diddy, and it's like a 90s dance. And just the song itself, she's just talking about like childhood memories, like trying to make it home before the street lights go off so her mom won't like beat her. It's literally a bop.
Literally a bop.
It's literally a bop.
It's a Diddy bop. When I say that, it's a Diddy bop. It sounds like P Diddy made a good song. Not in this case. Noname made a good song.
She made a bop.
She made a bop.
So another song that kind of stood out to me on that album is All I Need, and obviously because
you're featuring your favorite, not your favorite artist.
Close to your
favorite artist,
Xavier Omar.
Yeah,
who just came out with a song, with Saba, by the way, with Saba and Mick Jenkins. Yeah, so I didn't really like the song that much, but
it's okay. Well, another topic.
I still love Zav Om. I still love Xavier Omar.
Yeah. So this song, All I Need.
Yeah. So Noname is just talking about how she wants to fall in love. She says she wants someone to like follow her to the rabbit hole. She said, "You remind me to love myself for the principle, for the kid inside till the end of time." That quote is interesting because in the next line she says, "Happy-go-lucky was a time." Okay, as if to like contradict what she just previously said, like the advice that was given to her, or the advice that she just said in the previous line is like, not really,
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just an interesting line off that song. So going into Room 25.
Well, no, I'm happy. Not to interrupt.
Yeah,
but
yeah. You go.
I'm happy that you brought up like how you remind me to love myself for the principle, for the kid inside till the end of time. She's talking about like these principles, like she hasn't like experienced anything yet.
Yeah.
And I think that goes well into Room 25, where it sounds a little bit more mature.
Yeah, for sure.
In this album. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that's a great leave off.
For sure, because like
where we're going into Room 25.
Because honestly, when you go into Room 25, she's talking about it. Like she's talking about being with somebody. Like it's, as opposed to this, it's more of like the thought of it. I feel it's less of a realistic thing. It's more like fantasy.
Yeah, this is more tangible. I think Room 25 is her being more tangible with things going on in her life. So Room 25, it opens up with Self is just, I think it's a really great intro for the album. She addresses a lot of things. She addresses politics, religion, and she also, in that song, she also kind of talks about like her ability to rap. In my opinion, she has a line in there where she says, "Yeah, I really thought a bitch couldn't rap, huh?" I thought that maybe she was questioning how people view female artists. I thought that was kind of like, kind of like, yeah, I think
not skeptical, but like, that was kind of smart, like, like,
because it could be about herself, but it could also be about derogatory term that people use about female artists, and female artists get this like stigma that they can't rap as well as males, which we'll talk about.
Yeah,
but it's a clever line. She's a clever writer, probably one of the best writers in the game right now. But
for sure,
yeah.
So going into another standout song for me on this album was Montego Bay, where it kind of goes into what we just talked about, where she was a little bit less experienced. You know, her first album. Then her second
This
album
one's
comes out.
experienced.
Oh yeah, her second album comes out and she's just all in. You know, she's talking about. She said, "Look, she's a classy bitch."
Read that second line.
She said, "He gonna fuck me like I'm Oprah." Okay, Noname. There's a third line.
Yeah, keep them coming.
She said, "Okay, wait,
Okay, collect.
I'm collected."
Let's go.
She said, "Cause a bitch really about her freedom, cause a bitch sucking dick in the new Adidas."
Look, I will say this. I probably explained this in my notes. It's her lines are so they're so cheeky. They're like tongue-in-cheek lines where it's just jokes, and you can actually tell in her music when she's smiling when she's saying a line.
Yeah,
which is great. Like you could picture her.
She's like, "You're
saying these lines." So
for sure.
That's an example of a line where.
And
you can see
this song is very interesting because, I guess it's something we could say. I mean, it's like public information, but it's not like she told us personally. But she told the world. I mean, like after her first album, like she lost her virginity after her first album, and you could definitely see like in this album that she's definitely a lot more like sexual. Like I feel like in her first album she wasn't like, I mean, unless I didn't catch it, but she definitely wasn't as sexual as she is. And then this song is just like talking about falling in love in Jamaica, you know. It's a definitely a big shift from Telephone for sure.
Yeah, it's a little more mature, and you could tell that
she's like, I'm in my Adidas. I'm on my knees in Jamaica.
Yeah, and now going back to Blaxploitation, I see you have Blaxploitation.
Oh,
the second song off her debut album.
The second song. That was a powerful second song.
Yes.
That's something. So the term Blaxploitation kind of comes from 70s films where there were black exploitation films. And in the intro, you hear she has like I forgot what film it was, but she has it in the background as the intro and as the outro, I believe. She gets hella political in this song, which I like it.
Even talking about Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, like honestly, whenever I first started reading the lyrics and I saw eating Chick-fil-A in the shadows, that tastes like hypocrite. I was like, and if you guys don't know, like Chick-fil-A is known for being like homophobic, you know, so and speaking out against LGBTQIA plus people. And she's saying people are still eating Chick-fil-A in the shadows, like in secret. Hypocrites. And honestly, I go on Twitter and I see like gay people eating Chick-fil-A. You know, they make jokes about it, but it's true.
Well, yeah, it's like that Russell Westbrook meme right now that he's like secretly eating.
Yeah, like me eating Chick-fil-A knowing I'm gay as hell, like stuff like that. You know, so that was the first line that hit me. Another line, she said, "I'm struggling to simmer down. Maybe I'm an insomnia black. Bad sleep triggered by bad government." That one was like, I really love the way she said that because, I mean, insomnia black is like a play on words, obviously. It's from insomniac, so, you know, when you're insomniac, you can't sleep.
Not able to sleep.
And she's kind of going off the term, you know, woke, stay woke. She's saying that the government is causing her to be woke. Like the government, under the current administration that we're in, she can't help but to be awake. So maybe she's an insomnia black. Bad sleep triggered by bad government. This girl.
She can write.
Oh yeah. Another thing she said was, keep the hot sauce in her purse and she be real blackie, just like Hillary Clinton, who masqueraded the system. Damn, girl. So if you don't know, Hillary Clinton mentioned in an interview with The Breakfast Club, she mentioned that she had hot sauce in her bag, and that's kind of like cringy as hell.
It's pandering.
Yes, she pandered, and during the 2016 election, she pandered a lot to black people. I mean, just her going to The Breakfast Club itself is obvious. So yeah, and another line that stood out to me was, "When we cool, they cool, we die as a coon." Also, who wrote the movie To America is still coming. And for me, I thought she was kind of just shutting down the idea that, like, you know, Europeans created America.
What's also great about the "When we cool, they cool" is, I don't know if this is a reference to a poem. Shout out to Education, by the way.
Education.
Because just learned this last semester. Just read it last
semester.
Go
off, Lewis.
We Real Cool by Gwendolyn Brooks. I don't know if that could be a reference to this poem by Gwendolyn Brooks,
that's
which,
possible.
You know, talks about being black and walking home at night.
Oh, that's possible, honestly.
Being profiled, being judged, being stereotyped, and all that. So could be a little nod.
Go to Genius for me.
We Real Cool by Gwendolyn Brooks. You just read that, and that's what made me think of that. but I do not know. You can research it.
Yeah.
You can research it, but yeah, I love the talking about Hillary Clinton, and it's just great lyricism when you just like Hillary Clinton who masqueraded the system. Great lyricism there by Noname, and that's what really stands out to me when you're listening to her music is just the lyrics behind them. You can tell her background, but we might not know if that's a nod to "We Rule Cool" by Gwendolyn Brooks. I
wouldn't be surprised if it is.
Just something to think about because of her background.
She's definitely a lyrical, like, should I say genius?
She's a lyrical genius.
A lyrical genius.
I'm being honest. I'll get to my take when I get to my part because I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't know if this is. I don't know if it'd be received well, but I do have a take about.
So, do you want to talk about her music right now?
Yeah, I'll talk about music. So, obviously, you can hear the difference in the albums, Room 25 and Telephone. So, we're here to talk about Telephone and Room 25. You recommended both to me, and I listened to Room 25 several times now. Several times, Room 25.
Several.
I've gone through Telephone once.
As you should.
Admittedly. I've only gone through it once.
As you shouldn't.
But I was listening to Telephone again while I was typing my notes.
As you should.
For inspiration. Yeah, there's a little bit of a roller coaster. So you can hear the difference in these albums. Room 25 feels like jazz. It feels like spoken word. It feels like open mic was just like placed right into your ears.
You hear the poet.
And it kind of like teleports you to that scene where whether you're listening to your headphones or in your car, arguing about religion, Kanye or women, that it brings you to this like open mic set up in a jazz club. Like it's great. It's spoken word, it's slam poetry, it's rap, it's hip hop, it's everything. It's everything. Room 25 also features something that she does with her voice, and you can tell this right off the bat. You can actually tell with like the first 3 songs that she does this. It's lower than a lot of the beats.
Yeah, you told me that it didn't really grab your attention when you first listened to it.
And that's probably why I needed more time with this episode.
Same.
I needed more time because I didn't understand. I didn't know why. I was just like, I can't listen to this album, and like it's bothering me that her voice is lower than the beats, because it's like it's not aesthetically pleasing to me right now. Like I don't know, I'm not in the space to be hearing this, but it did grow on me. Like when you actually listen to the album, you don't have to listen to it like song after song consecutively. The songs, like you don't have to listen to it in order. I think you could put on any song and be amazed by what she's doing in this album. But similarities in the project, that is just like what I struggle with, like the beat, her voice being lower than the beats. And we'll get to that again when we
like
talk
similarities in her albums.
And when the similarities in these projects is the lyricism, the use of words, it feels like purposeful, it feels creative, it's crafty. Like you don't know where she's going with it, but then she hits you with a simile or a metaphor or a line or a message that just makes sense.
For sure.
It's crafty. It's definitely crafty. And as some reviewers have said, it's charming. Some people will say her voice and tone does not vary much in her songs.
Yeah.
That may be true. I will say that. I don't think her voice or
she's a little monotone.
Changes a little bit. Because it's like she's talking to you. It's like a spoken word. So it's true in a way, but there's creativity and there's charm to her verses. You can hear when she's telling a joke and smiling through her words. You can literally see it when you're listening to the song. So when you're talking about Noname and her music, definitely an artist that like I want to keep up with. She's out of Chicago scene with Smino, Saba, Chance the Rapper. She's coming up with them in terms of ability. Her next step for me is like putting songs, like complete songs together, like structuring them into like a more cohesive manner while also keeping her style. Like I don't think her style
like in an album
is what bothers me. I think it's just like completing a song and making you listen to it all the way through. Like I think that's her next step, is like structuring these songs a little bit more to me. But hey, that's just me. To anyone else, the songs are fine. It's great. They're complete. I think that's just for me. What I'm excited about, super excited about, is her progression, because she's among one of the top writers you will hear in hip hop these days.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm telling you, like this is one of the top writers. Before I get to sort of the elements that she uses when you're talking about poetry, here's my take that might not be, but the first time I heard Kendrick Lamar, and this is not to compare male or female, this is just to compare ability to ability, is comparing lyricism to lyricism. When I first heard Kendrick Lamar, and it was years ago. But his use of words, the way he puts words together with a certain purpose and with a certain message that he wants to convey in like this crafty way. Noname reminded me a lot of like Kendrick Lamar's lyrical usage. Like I think she's right up there in terms like of writing, and it's just great. And I think what's interesting about her delivery, it's not appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
It's some people said it's an acquired taste. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah.
So her delivery is not appealing to everyone.
Yeah.
But I think what people need to recognize is her use of lyrics and her use of words and the way she puts words together is right there with like a Kendrick Lamar, and she hates being called like the female J. Cole. Yeah. And I'm not calling her the female Kendrick Lamar. She doesn't remind me of J. Cole at all. I just want to say that.
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of brought that up. But you can finish your thought.
But I just want to say she's not the female Kendrick Lamar. She's Noname, and that's because of her delivery, the way she's putting these songs together. For me, it might not be complete and whole and like structured to my liking, but it's definitely something that makes her stand out as an artist. And that's what's great. Like, she's not the male anyone. She's not the like another female anyone. She's just Noname. I will talk about her poetic elements in her raps. One being alliteration. You see a lot of this.
Yeah, especially in which song is it off? Room 25. Is it? It's.
Do you remember the lyrics?
It's like
like incidentals and ishkabibbles and.
I'm gonna look it up, but you can continue.
Okay, so in Part of Me, she says, "Riddle me this, Mona Lisa, pizza, pepperoni, smiling over phony speakers, getting a fit. Riddle me new, politician, do a dance for me, hot potato, Millie Rock, devastation of Kitty Bop." She says, "Idiot, itty bitty resentfulness, riddle me gone." Oof. Come on, like that's just too good, right? Like that's just way too good. She knows how to put words together.
For sure.
Like, and even saying idiot a different way. She says idiot to go with itty bitty and Kitty Bop. That's just great, and I can't believe I actually said that without stumbling.
Yeah, okay. I was like, go off.
I've told you.
Okay, Eminem.
Hey, don't label me, okay? So I will say that it's just great the way she changed it to make it alliteration, make it that way. Also, in With You, this is my happy ever suicide, my hands tied behind my breast, my silhouette to pirouettes. It's just like great poetic elements in that, like with either personification, my silhouette doing pirouettes, or even alliteration when you talk about silhouette, pirouettes, suicide, hands tied, and then breast. And Noname said her favorite song off Room 25 is Don't Forget About Me. Mm. She said that is her favorite song, and I actually have some lyrics that will go along with that, but that's just some examples of poetic elements when you're talking about her raps. All right, so should we talk about the bigger picture?
Wait, going back to alliteration.
Oh, okay. You found something. You found what you're talking about.
Yeah, in Blaxploitation, she says, "Penny proud, penny petty, pissing off Betty the boop."
Yeah, it's great.
Like penny proud. Yeah, there's alliteration in there. But if you listen to the whole song, like, yeah.
Yeah, penny proud.
I just thought that was a very interesting
Family.
thing.
You ever watched Proud Family?
That was a very interesting thing to bring up. You know, liberal arts major, go off. Yeah. I see, I'm an arts major, so I'm like, I don't catch all that.
I literally just took this class last semester with the man behind me, Charlie. So I actually did take something away. So
the man behind the man.
Should we talk about the bigger picture here?
Yeah, let's talk about the bigger picture. So it was interesting that you brought up that she doesn't want to be called the female J. Cole. So in a now deleted tweet, she said, "Y'all gotta stop calling women the female versions of male rappers. That shit is so corny." And before, I believe she had posted, or maybe this was either before or after, I remember she posted a picture on Instagram where she like commented, I think this was in quotes, where she said, "Nah, she dope. She like the female J. Cole." And then another time, some like guy on Twitter had like tweeted at her. I honestly don't understand what he was saying, but he said something, and then she was like, "So then I'm the female version of anyone who's black from Chicago and raps LOL." And it shows that she's definitely like, she doesn't want to be compared to men, which makes sense.
Why
like,
should she delete that tweet?
I don't know. Maybe she thought it was controversial. But isn't that Noname like
used to being controversial on Twitter?
But she's also low key, so maybe she doesn't want that attention.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, her thing is, she doesn't want to be called the female version. And it's really interesting because I feel like a lot of men don't understand why. They're like, oh, that's a compliment. They're like, oh, J. Cole is like the greatest rapper ever, you know, like in their voice. And why would you not want to be called the female version of J. Cole? And it's like, because she's creating her own path, you know. J. Cole created his path. Let her create her own.
I don't hear a lot of music like No Names.
I mean, exactly. I mean,
that's why I'm
exactly.
That's
like,
why you can't compare. I don't
right.
Think.
So it's like call her for what she is. She's talented. She's a great writer. She's a genius writer.
I think she's a genius writer.
I mean,
put her there.
She's a great artist. Call her for what she is. Don't say she's the female version of J. Cole. That's offensive to women. I mean, don't call women the female versions of any type of man. They're them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand. Anyway, so we're going into. So this is just kind of going into like. Another thing is like in an interview she did. She also doesn't like to be like compared to Cardi B because a lot of people will say she's a more conscious rapper and she's more like people will say like she's better than like Cardi B because Cardi B doesn't rap about the same stuff. One thing she doesn't like to do that either. She doesn't like to put women like to be put against women like that. And I feel like that's a big problem we have with just like the music industry in general. Is just putting women against each other. And one thing I commend her for is saying like, no, I'm not better, or no, I'm not a more conscious rapper. Like, I'm not, you know, Cardi B's not this, I'm not that. It's like, don't compare us. We're each individual. She likes to think of herself as in the same lane as Cardi B in a way, if that makes sense. Like, they're both doing the same thing, not creating the same music, but
it's just like they're both making music. They're both
right.
making
why do they have to be compared to each other?
I don't know.
Like, it's like male rappers get to. There's so many literally rap is dominated by men, and there's been forever. I mean, since the beginning of rap, and all these men have these platforms, and they get to, you know, come out, right? And not come out. What am I trying to say? Like, all these like male rappers are out. They're all making music. They're collaborating. But we have this thing when it comes to female rappers where we feel the need to put them against each other. And this kind of brings me to an interview that Queen Latifah had last year with Hot 97, where she says, I support females in hip-hop. There's room for all of us, and nobody, to my knowledge, invented this, so you don't get to claim it. This is all of ours. One thing is really interesting is because I'm, like, as you know, I'm into, like, older hip-hop, so I really like listening to Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, Moni Love, Salt and Pepper. And during that era, you had them collaborating on music. You know the song I Want to Be Down by Brandy? I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's like an R&B song. There's a remix, which is probably one of the greatest remixes like I've ever heard. Ever, maybe.
I remember when remixes were good.
And it was all these women. It was MC Lyte, Queen Latifah, and what's her name?
It escapes you. But we do have the internet.
We do have the internet.
But we have the internet.
Hold on.
Oh, we're taking a slight pause for LaShayla's Google search.
And Yo-Yo.
Ah, there we go. Yo-Yo.
And it's just, I remember, this is kind of going off track, but I just remember, I think it was her. She said, I don't know if it was an interview she had, but I remember like seeing something where her kind of talked about, it was either her or LMI. I think it might have been her, where she said that, she was just kind of like, why don't you think that we have, you know, that I Want to Be Down? Because like we have this thing where we have to put women against each other. Like we don't have remixes like that anymore, you know, with female rappers. So anyway, one thing she mentioned in the interview was that for a while she felt like it was only Nicki like out, and she said that was never cool. Like, that was never cool. There's so many other female artists that need radio play, and they're only giving it to one artist. And why is that? Like, why do you think, I mean, honestly, like, why do you think that?
Why do I think Nicki Minaj gets more radio play than anyone?
Not necessarily Nicki, but why is it so important to only have one?
I feel like Nicki Minaj, she does, I think her lane is like, it varies. Like, I think she can do pop and also hip hop. Sure. I think like that's how she's able to get radio play. I think Nicki
she's
Minaj,
popular,
and she's popular. Here's my thing about when you're looking at the bigger picture of like female rappers being against each other. When people say female rappers, it's Cardi B or Nicki Minaj. It's
Or.
they don't exist in the same world. Almost. It's like I think Nicki Minaj and Cardi B. Look, I guess I am blaming them. Look, they're setting the wrong precedent for female artists.
Yeah, it's so frustrating because it's like you have these ideas of, that there has to be one.
Yeah.
That has to be one top female like rapper, and it's like getting to the point where they're actually beefing over nothing.
Yeah, I mean they act like they can't coincide in the same atmosphere,
and they're just adding on to that
in the same place.
Right, they're just like adding on to it. They're not making it any better.
It's like it's what it does. It restricts growth among other female artists, so they can't be viewed in a bigger light.
For sure,
like how male artists are. So they aren't collaborating with other female rappers. They did in motorsport.
Yeah, and they weren't even in the video together. They couldn't even do that together.
But that's about it. And when they create one spot for a female MC, then no one else gets to shine. I think that's a big problem. So which comes to Noname, her style and pretty much everything is different about her music from Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. But I feel like popular female rappers have only made one spot open for one
sure.
artist to be known.
Yeah.
So Cardi B and Nicki Minaj definitely aren't helping this stigma of female artists being lesser known than male artists, because they're creating one spot. It's just one spot, so you only view one female artist.
And I mean, honestly, I feel like you can't necessarily put all the blame on them.
No, it's like
I think it's
because they're already at a disadvantage by being placed in that label female.
Right.
They're already put in that disadvantage by people that think like female MCs or female rappers aren't as good, or their music isn't as listenable as other male artists. So it's like they're already at that disadvantage. I just think they're adding on to that disadvantage of being placed in that.
And I think that's out of ignorance.
Label. That's pretty much what I think. But I think it just starts at the top. Because, I mean, Noname, she doesn't want to be known. She doesn't want to be, like, in the spotlight or anything like that. But her music, it's as I compared it to, of course we're going to, like, compare her right now, but I'm not saying she's the male Kendrick, but her music does remind me of, like, a Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
So, like, why isn't she viewed in that same space? I mean it's that stigma that we...
misogyny.
Yeah, it's that stigma about female MCs, but it's also, I think, Cardi B and Nicki Minaj creating only one spot for female artists, and so like other female artists aren't being known as much. I mean, you just named like Queen Latifah, and MC Lyte, Salt-N-Pepa. You're talking about all these female artists. I mean, like how many can we name now that are really popular? Because Queen Latifah, Salt-N-Pepa, sorry, and Pepper.
Don't white-splain.
Yeah,
don't gentrify Salt-N-Pepa's name.
Salt-N-Pepa's name, but Salt-N-Pepa, MC Lyte, Queen Latifah. At the top at that time among female artists, but we can't even have that now. It's either one or the other. It's Cardi B or Nicki Minaj. It's like we can't have both. And you see J. Cole, Kendrick, Drake collaborating with each other on multiple occasions, so they're not creating that one spot. Of course, they'll argue about who's the best rapper. Like, I'm the best rapper. I'm coming after everybody. But at the end of the day, it's all love at the end of the day, and they still want to work with each other at the end of the day. I mean, you look at Drake and Meek Mill still collaborate. Like, they'll still collaborate. They just squash their beef or whatever. But it's all love at the end of the day. I just don't feel that with female artists.
Right.
And it sucks because they're already at that disadvantage of, as you mentioned, of like misogyny and that stigma that like they can't be as good as male artists, and it's definitely not true.
Right. And I also think men just kind of put women against each other, and then it becomes what Cardi B versus Nicki Minaj. I feel like the listeners, the people that listen to them, they turned this into them. Like, they literally, I think I would blame them for this, that they let fans get in their head. I think, like, I feel like there wasn't many things that they did directly to each other that could have caused them to not like each other, but it's just that idea of there has to be one woman at the top. It's just it's such a problematic idea, because when you think about it, like financially, I mean, you would make so much more money if the top rappers are collaborating together. I don't understand why it's a problem to just put your beef aside, not even beef, honestly, or to just collaborate with other maybe female artists that aren't as well known, because like I said, it is a male dominated industry. So where I was going with the misogyny, that was kind of leading me to why I think that artists like Noname aren't as popular. I mean, obviously, is the first thing we said, which was the idea that there has to be that one. But also, I kind of went into like the hypersexualization of female rappers, and I'm gonna kind of explain that because
I have something that goes along with the sexualization of female rappers.
So I say when rappers like Lil Kim and like Foxy Brown stepped onto the scene, it was very clear that that was like their look, right? And that was great. So I want to say this. I'm not like trying to shame them or anything. I definitely think that that was what they wanted to do, and I think they were artists like rappers like them, especially female rappers like them. I think are very important, and I think they definitely paved the way for. They paved the way for like Nicki Minaj. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But it's like they definitely also did something when it comes to like feminism, where they were claiming their sexuality, you know, and that was something I feel like a lot of women in the music industry didn't do at the time, like especially in the 90s and. Especially in rap, you see artists like Queen Latifah and MC Lyte. They had a more like, not masculine like look, but kind of in a way. Even though in their lyrics, like MC Lyte in her lyrics, she talks about like men. In one of her songs, Roughneck, she's talking about like being with a man. So it's like it's definitely like sexual lyrics. The nature of the lyrics are definitely sexual, but the way they present it was more just like of the style of like what it was for women to present that way. They couldn't be overtly sexual. And I definitely think with when Lil Kim and Foxy Brown like stepped onto the scene, they definitely did something. They definitely did something when it comes to like feminism, saying that it's okay to be sexual. It's okay to like flaunt what you have. It's okay to be like that. But I think along the line somehow we kind of got to this place of you can only be that way to get to there. Like I feel like we don't now. It's like you don't have the option to be either or. You know what I mean? Like I feel like the point of them. I feel like what was very important is that they created this lane for women to be themselves and to be. It's okay for women to like, you know, like sex, right? Because like men talk about it, right? Yeah. So I think with their music they did that, but in a way it kind of over time I feel like we've done something or something has happened in female hip hop where it's like you have to do that, if that makes sense. Like you're not really given the option. If you, I mean you are given the option technically, but it's like what's more mainstream now is like I see a lot of female artists who are more like sexualized, and that's great, and I want them to be like that. I want them to be them, but I'm hoping they're doing it because that's just how they are, you know.
Well, like that's the thing. Like, are you doing it because you want to be comfortable in your own body and you want to just be proud of who you are, or are you doing it because sex sells? Right, sex sells. That's the thing. It's like sex sells, and I feel like with Nicki Minaj, with Cardi B, with you have the City Girls, you have. What's her name? Saweetie. You know, you have all these, and they have all the dolls, like the Cuban doll, the Asian doll, like all of these female rappers. They're all selling sex, and that's awesome. But then you have artists like Carrie Foe, you have Tierra Whack, you have Noname, all these female artists who don't necessarily, I would say, whose their characters aren't the same. Their personas, it's not exactly like that. You know. I don't know how to explain it. Let's see. You know, you have those artists, and I feel like they maybe aren't doing as well because they're not mainstream like that. Like, they don't do mainstream things. They don't do, like, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like a lot of those artists, you can kind of group them together, and they almost, like, all look the same in a way. Because they're all doing the same things. They're rapping about the same things. They're dressing the same way, having their hair the same way. And it's like, when it comes to artists like Tierra Whack and Carrie Foe and Noname, they're more like unique and they're more true to themselves in a way. And I'm not saying that the other artists aren't, but I'm saying I feel like in a way it's not allowing, there's like a restraint on hip hop when it comes to women, where it's not really, we're not really allowing artists like them to become mainstream. You know what I mean? And the thing is like, I would never say that I'm not shaming them. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be sexual. Like, hell yeah, they should. Like, I'm saying that I feel like we're in an era of female hip hop where it's like,
that's the type of music that sells, and that's the personas that sell. That's the characters, that sell, as opposed to the no names, the TRX. Now, I definitely think with streaming, they've definitely, like, they're not mainstream. They're literally only not mainstream because they're not played on the radio. However, they're getting millions and millions of streams online. So,
like, Kendrick Lamar doesn't have a 6-pack.
I mean, yeah.
And he's still selling, as one of the top artists.
Right.
But, I mean, it's like Noname doesn't dress over sexualize or do anything like that for the sake of, like, sex sells, and she's not selling. Yeah. So that brings up the point of, like, oh, your misogynistic roots and, like, heteronormativity and things like that.
We just kind of went all over the place.
Yeah, but when you're talking about, like, the sexualization of rappers, I think all of it falls under the umbrella of female artist restriction. Like, why they're being restricted and why they're not talked about enough and not viewed in the same light of male rappers. So it all falls under the umbrella of restriction among female artists. So when you're talking about the sexualization of female rappers, Noname mentions this in her second verse of her song Don't Forget About Me. She says, let's get down to the nitty gritty, change my city, titties $13K, the pretty cost these days. My doctor really loved me, how I'm only half awake. I just came from my funeral, my ugly passed away. Welcome to Beverly Hills. So she's talking about, like, oh, I got to do all these things so I can sell, pretty much. So, I mean, this is the genius explanation. Following the success of Telephone, Noname moved to LA and references getting cosmetic surgery because the pretty cost these days, especially in Instagram influencer-ridden Beverly Hills. She also touches on her relationship with her doctor, who claims to really love and care about her in her post-op and doped up state. But does he, or is he just happy to take her money and plan a funeral for her ugly? So, I mean, it goes into, like, the sexualization, like, oh, pretty costs these days. Right. I mean, I gotta look pretty because I just moved to Beverly Hills, and that comes with, being a successful artist. Right. Like, is sex selling? Why am I not selling? Is it because, like, I'm not conforming to the style of Cardi B and Nicki Minaj? So I think that's kind of where it falls.
I think we just need to get to a place where artists are selling regardless of the way that they present, that we value artists, whether it be male or female, based off of their musical abilities and not how they look, or not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or we get to a place where artists feel comfortable being whoever, regardless of, you know what I'm saying, like, they don't feel like they have to do this or they have to change the way they look to sell music. Or we should make, I feel like, I don't know if that's ever possible, but I'm saying it would be nice to get to a place where we don't make it to where they feel like they have to do
that. I just don't like how there's appreciation for all different kinds of styles in male hip-hop, where we have appreciation for Migos as we do the appreciation for Kendrick Lamar.
Everybody's like, oh, Lil Uzi Vert not that bad, Lil Yachty's pretty good.
So it's like, why can't we have that same appreciation for Nicki Minaj as we do for Noname?
Yeah.
Why can't we have that appreciation? Why does it have to be one? Why does it have to be all one style, not different styles? Why can't we appreciate different styles that female artists are bringing to the game and bringing to hip hop? It's just, I think, that it comes down to, like, listen to more. I think Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, I mean, they're among top artists,
and also they're producing what's popular right now.
Yeah, too. But there's other music out there that female artists are putting out, like Noname's putting out quality music.
Yeah, come on, radio stations, y'all need to play them. Like,
well, I like that Stephen Colbert featured her.
Oh yeah, for sure,
on his Late Show. So that was great, and it helps getting the name out there. It's just, why can't we have that same appreciation for female artists? And it does come down to what you said of the misogyny and how female artists themselves are creating one spot for one female artist.
Yeah, they just kind of, I feel like, in a way, they just kind of have to get out of that mindset that there can only be one, and they have to understand that you're going to be more powerful together than apart. So
I like that. But so don't mind me,
but I think female rappers should feel comfortable enough to present the way they see fit and not worry about whether or not it's, like, if it would affect how big they get. Don't mind me, but y'all need to chill.
Don't mind me, but I agree with LaShayla. So, as always, thank you for listening to Don't Mind Us.
And don't mind us, but listen to our next episode. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you usually say?
I forgot.
You like don't mind us, but thanks for listening.
Yeah. There we go.
You always hit that. Bye.
Bye.